World. How are you today? This is your host, Butler, for the New American Perspective. Great to see you today. Thank you for joining me today from wherever you are around the world. Where are you around the world? Because we are new Americans and we have a new American perspective. How you feeling this week? We've got a lot going on since Liberation Day, 7 days ago. So tune in, tap in, tell us where you're tapping in from. Put it in the comments. Follow me at Jania Butler on all social media aspects, Millennium News 24, and here we go. So again, Liberation Day, 7 days ago. Okay, we talked about what was going to happen. So the Dow is down 4,500 points. So it didn't work out so well the first week. Okay, so we got to say, Trump, but he said, don't become a panic-kin right just yet. Okay, what he said is that we need a little bit of time to jump back into the market. Now, China, my man Chi over there, he is going, he's doubling down, he's putting down retaliatory tariffs, okay, on the United States, and they're going. So Trump said, holla if you hear me, we at 104% right now, China. So Trump is trying to impose 104% tariffs on China. And the EU is also has retaliatory tariffs on us. So what are we talking about here? Where are we going with that? Okay. But the word is that at least 50 countries, at least 50, I don't know which 50 yet, President Trump, have talked about that they want to come in and start negotiating. Now let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about the tariffs and why he's putting on the tariffs, because I think there's the good, the bad, and the ugly with this. And you tell me how you think, you tell me how you feel too. But I think it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So he's putting on tariffs. So instead of shipping jobs out of the United States, that America is now putting these jobs back into the United States. And so we saw the last week, we saw the workers in Detroit that used to build the cars and used to have the booming industry in Detroit. And they're talking about, hey, we're looking forward to this because we can bring these industry back in. So car dealers, international car dealers, they're going to have to put their plants back in the United States. I think that's a good thing, right? Now, Trump has only got 4 years. So we're not looking at a president that has 8 years, right? So he's trying to condense everything that he's trying to do in 4 years. So in his first 100 days, he's putting these tariffs out. And then everybody is panicking, right, and going crazy. But are we looking at the real meaning of why we're doing it? Now, when you go to other countries, I don't know if some of you are in other countries, but do you have a lot of American goods? I feel like in other countries, when I go there, there's not a lot of American goods. I don't go by. You basically have your McDonald's, you have your basic things that you see everywhere around the world, right? In these other countries. But there's not a lot of products, American products in these other countries. And now we see why. There's not a lot of American products in other countries because the tariffs are high in these other countries. So the only thing that Trump did so far is put a tariff on countries that have a tariff on us. And now what he's saying, well, if you take that tariff off, we'll take ours off. And then we could do really good business. Now, who is that really for? Because a lot of us are not doing business in other countries. So this is for people that have the capital to be able to say, I want to do business in China, right? Because there's no American stuff going on in China. And so now, but here's the thing, America, we're spoiled. we're spoiled in American culture, because we're spoiled, sorry about that, because we're spoiled in American culture, now we need to look at exactly what's happening. Okay. Um, uh, Sorry, I lost my train of thought really quick. But because we're spoiled in American culture, now all of these products and services that we're used to getting that are going to go up because of these tariffs, now we have a problem. We love our avocados, we love our mangoes, and now what we're realizing as Americans, there's not that a lot that goes on here in America, right? But what Trump is saying, listen, we need more labor here in America in order to get my people working and having good, hard paying jobs that you don't have to go to school for. You don't have to be IT. You don't have to be this. You don't have to be that. Instead of doing that, right? Let's now have some jobs here in the country that we can rely on. Makes a little bit of sense. I'm not opposed to that. But now we're all going to feel this. But let me ask you a question. Did we feel this in the Biden administration? I mean, I feel like we went through a lot. I think we went through a full 4 years of traumatizing, and the gas going up. Just now, they brought the gas down, and they brought the price of eggs. This is all under the Biden administration. So now we're acting like, oh, we're so big and bad. I mean, we want to, under Trump, we want to experience the surge, right? And so we got to figure out what we want. Americans are spoiled. We're spoiled people. But now somebody has to take a hit at some time to get something done. So right now I'm saying I believe in President Trump. I believe in what he's doing to a degree. Again, maybe we'll start looking at selling products over in these other countries now that these tariffs are coming down. As he pulls these tariffs down for these other countries, we've got to start looking at that. But now let's look at the stock market. What about the stock market? Okay, so let's look at what's going on stock market ish in the stock market. Isn't this a great time to buy? Those of us who don't have large stocks, some people that got their 401ks, okay? If you're retiring right now, we gotta feel some type of way for you and hope that this bounces back even better than before, so you get the money that you lost. But if you're young, I don't think that you have anything to worry about. But I think that we need to put together a group that's buying into some of these stocks while they're low and while they're down. You buy while they're low and while they're down. So start paying attention to what's going on, because I want us in these 4 years to take advantage of this. Is money time. Trump is only thinking about how to make money. Right now, he's going through his up and downs, and that's what everybody is trying to say, is that, listen, we don't know how you going out with this Trump. We don't know, right? But I'm sure, and I've watched him over the years, has definitely focused on money, and I like it. I like what it is in our community when we talk about a recession, because you got Mark Cuban out here talking about, oh, it's sure to be a recession. And I think that the people are pushing the recession on, making the market scared, because what a recession is people start holding on to their money, and they don't spend their money the same way, right? Because they're scared. I think I'm going to lose my money. I think this is going to happen. I think that's going to happen. And so that's what's happening. We've got the media trying to work for the Democratic Party yet again, right? We got the media out here trying to do their due diligence and make sure that tanks, and it just makes no sense. And I think that we need to all think American first, no matter how you feel about whatever you feel. I think that we all need to think America first. Okay, next up, let's talk about former Vice President Kamala Harris talking about, I don't want to say I told you so. And, she went on her, laughing brigade, kind of missed her little laugh. But she came out and said, I don't want to tell you that I told you so, but I told you so. And so what did she tell us? Did she tell us that, Trump was going to crash the market and everything was going to be absolutely bad and everything like that? Now, again, in order for us to get to the next level, if we want America to be strong, if we want America to be the world power, then we have to somebody's going to have to take a hit, right? And I guess right now it's us, or it's the people that have their money in the stock market. Okay. And so we got to look at that. We care about you all too. But in my community, it's not going to be, when we talk about recessions, we live in recession at all times. So my community is not going to feel it. So stop acting like you are. Stop panicking, right? Do you want to be not a Democrat, a Republican, but a panicking? Stop doing that because it's not necessary. Let's move the needle forward. Let's be smart. Let's figure out how we're going to get involved in this next 4 years of money that's going to be moving. Now, they also say that Trump may have tanked the economy so he can lower the taxes. Now, I'm always for lower taxes. They talk about, oh, well, you don't want to lower these taxes for the billionaires. Listen, low taxes is low taxes. I mean, that's what they tell us, but we all get the lower taxes, okay? I'm not worried about counting money in other people's pockets. I'm counting the money in my pockets, and a low tax is always going to be a lower tax. They tell us, oh no, we want higher taxes so you could tax those other people and we could use their money to do XYZ stuff. I consider myself in a top level bracket, and I don't want you taxing my money. Do you want people taxing you 70%? Because that's what the Democrats want to do. They want to take 70% of your money over $400,000. What is you talking about? Now, they're telling us, oh, well, you're never going to make that amount of money, so you ain't got to worry about that. Let us go ahead and tax them. No, we are going to make that amount of money. We are going to flip our community around, and we are going to be focused on being money centered and what we want to do with our money. Okay. So, but they said, to some, the recession is a certainty. So call it what you want. They're in there for years. Call it what you want. Okay. So now they are pausing the $2 billion federal funding to Princeton. Okay, so we talk about the HBCUs at times, and so the historically Black colleges and universities, they don't see $1 billion in their lifetime, but places like Princeton, um, uh, Cornell, and Northwestern, they get big sums of money for research um, from the government, right? So they're getting research. Oh, they're getting research grants. So Trump is pausing that money. He put $2 billion of federal funding on pause. Okay, Trump is pausing that money and say, whoa, why are we sending that to you? Okay, and I need a little bit more clarity for that. Okay, Trump, yes, don't send them that money and send it to the HBCUs. I thank you very much. um so he's chin checking every dollar that's coming out of the federal government, and that's good, and we should all be paying attention to that. And so when we come back, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how Representative Jasmine Crockett, Jazzy doing her thing, she's still out here doing her thing, right? How Representative Jasmine Crockett is becoming a leader of the Democratic Party, and how most people like or don't like that. And Trump had something to say about that. So let's take a break, and we'll be right back with the New American Perspective here on Millennium News 24. And we are back. This is Jania Butler here on Millennium News 24, your host of the New American Perspective. And we just got finished talking about Trump and his Liberation Day tariffs and how it's going. The Dow Jones hitting the ground right now. And so it doesn't look good, but it looks up, right? Maybe it doesn't feel good or look good to some people, but to others, it may feel good. Now, let's not forget last week, Trump had not Trump, excuse me. Last week, they had their hands off. They had their hands off day around the world. And that really, posed a lot of, you know, uncertainty amongst people. There was 1,200, at least 1,200 protests around the country, 50 in all 50 states telling Trump's hands off. So now, here's the interesting part. So you had thousands of people out there talking about immigration, hands off the illegal immigrants. That's what they're out there saying. Hands off of them. Let them come running across the border. Okay? Hands off. Hands off the money. Don't be chin checking and seeing what kind of money that is being spent by the government. Hands off, Elon. Right? You had everybody outside, hands off. You had them dragging Trump. They drag him out of the White House because he is messing up everybody's money. But I think this is just like this big illusion that comes on, because where was this energy when Biden was tanking the country, when Biden couldn't see straight just a couple months ago? We only 100 months. We only less than 100 days in now. Let's be clear. Okay, so they had their big rallies. Everybody was outside, but they said, where are the black people out here? Now, a lot of people said, we're not the only immigrants. Why are you not standing with us? First of all, good people, most people don't stand with us when we're outside. Okay, maybe some people do. I don't want to say nobody stands with us, but they do. But I'm going to give it to the black folks that are anti-Trump. They didn't vote for Trump, right? So the black folks like Vice President Harris are saying, listen, we told you so. So black folks didn't get out in these rallies last week. And people had, where are y'all at? We out here, they're like, look, you're taking a blueprint out of our book. We showed you how to march. We showed you how to get out here. We showed you how to protest, okay? And now y'all jumping out and following our lead. So respect to the Allah on that, because that's a fact, okay? So Jasmine Crockett, Jazzy, our girl, Representative Jasmine Crockett out of Texas, remember she was in the news for calling Governor Abbott Governor Hot Wheels a few weeks ago. And, she seems to get out of that. Now they're loving her even more. So she's getting more fanfare. So she's still talking. So Representative Crockett said, listen, this is why we need immigrants. We need immigrants here in this country because we not picking no cotton no more. I don't know. We need people on the farms, and we need people this. Now, I don't want to say that this is her talking points, because these talking points have been in existence for a while, right? People say that all the time, but I think that is more prejudice to the immigrants that are coming in. So you telling me I'm coming into America and I'm supposed to pick the cotton and I'm supposed to be in the fields and I don't think they're coming here for that. They may start down here. And I think in the Black community, I think what we get lost on is that we get lost and stuck in a place, right? We get stuck where we feel like the job that we have, you have to accelerate. In America, it's about climbing up the ladder, right? You have an entry level job, Burger King, McDonald's. You move on up, you move off the cash register, you move to management, you move to ownership, and we have to start thinking that way, right? And so when she's saying that, you know, we don't want to pick any cotton. Well, I don't think these jobs are offered to us, right? And I don't want to say that these jobs are for us, but I also don't want to say that we don't want these jobs, because immigrants are taking more than field jobs. Immigrants are taking, in New York, they're taking construction jobs, right? And so if you go to a construction site, everybody is speaking Spanish, right? And so what about our men that need to start out being laborers, flaggers, and all these things? They are taking jobs. What about the restaurants that the immigrants are working in, that they are taking under the table pay, which should be now in New York $15 or $18 an hour, and you start there and you go up the ramp. So don't tell our people that we should not start at the bottom of the ring if you do not have the experience to do it. You have to start somewhere. And if you live in a place that's the industry, then somebody's got to do it. And don't be passing those jobs out to people and saying, oh, we need illegal immigrants to do that. If I was an immigrant, I don't want to say illegal, but if I was an immigrant, I would feel some type of way about that. That's what you think of me. That's what you think of me, Congressman Jazz? I don't know. But her fanfare is going up. People seem to love her. She said no one wants to pick the cotton. And so President Trump said, look, if that's the Democratic leader, they're in trouble. Everybody, Bill Maher, he went to, the most unlikely person to go to the White House with Kid Rock. He went there and he also talked about Representative Crockett and AOC. And he talked about them like, they're not real. Okay. And so Jasmine is, she's stirring up stuff in DC because one of her colleagues called her outside and was like, we can go outside. White woman. She said, listen, Jasmine called her a child. She said, listen, child. Homegirl said, I am 47 years old. Ain't nothing about me a child. We can go outside if you don't understand that. Whoops. So Jasmine is definitely stirring up stuff. Let's see where that goes. She might be trying to go for the minority leader that is Hakeem Jeffries' job. She's getting a little too big for your britches. But let's not forget, Jazz, do not outshine the master, okay? Because they're going to knock you down. They're not going to let you go. They're going to let you get hurt out here, and you keep saying stuff that is, I know that you going for the clickbait and you like the energy because but you brought a lot of attention to yourself. And guess what? Our friend Elon Musk, I don't know what he's talking about, but Elon Tesla has asked him to step down. So we're not going to be seeing much more of Elon. I mean, he's been listening. He's obviously been listening to the New American Perspective because Elon is now told, his job is almost done. He was only supposed to be there for a little while. I'm sure that he's lost too much money in the process. You see that America is not going for this anymore, asking too many questions. But before Elon goes, guess what he's doing? He is checking out how these Congress people who make $174,000 a year, how they are getting 20 million, net worth 20 million. Now I want to know that too, because maybe I need to run a little harder for Congress. Okay, so Jasmine Crockett's net worth is like 9. I don't want to be in your pocket or nothing, but it's like 9 million, you 20 million or something. So what's going on, Jazz? Let me in on the secret and start telling the American public and our community, especially, how to make this money that quickly, right? And so they're trying to figure out. So Elon is going to run a check on some people's money. So hide your money if it's not right, because we don't know what's happening. And so there's also a debate about due process in the Trump administration, because if you remember, a few weeks ago, there was a Venezuelan immigrant. He was not a legal immigrant, but he had court papers allowing him to stay in the United States with his family. Now, this is a family man. They picked him up and swept him away on that plane that they shipped out. And they're telling them they got to bring him back. They said, well, we can't bring him back because he's in Venezuela. He's in the jail. We can't find him. They said, you know what? Judge said, go get that man and bring that man back. So there is an issue about due process going on in America, right? Because do we get due process in America? And now, because it seems like, I don't want to say this, it seems like, ICE is looking at people and saying, do you speak English? Come here, let me talk to you for a second. Hola. ¿Cómo está usted? It seems like ICE is running up on people and figuring out whether they're an American citizen based on how they look. And that's a problem, right? And we need due process in this country. We do not want to eliminate that, because we always have to look on how that's going to play on us in the long run, right? We already go through enough, and it's a lot of non-due process when it comes to us, but we don't get shipped out the country and you can't find us, okay? So we have to really look at that, and I don't want to be insensitive to that. So I do believe in due process, but JD Vance was up there talking about, look, that man that was shipped out of here, he was an illegal immigrant. He wasn't supposed to be in America. He didn't have his papers right, and he's over there, and that's that. JD on a little sensitivity happening going on right now. So I got to say thank you to President Trump, okay? Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, President Trump, because he is listening to the New American Perspective. I don't care what any of you say. President Trump is tuning in to the New American Perspective. And let me tell you why. Remember, I've been hooping and hollering, yelling and screaming, we need executive orders in the Black community, and I'm going to come see you, President Trump. Well, cavalry has arrived. Lynn Patton, who is the special assistant to Trump and on Black engagement, she was on Fox News the other day talking about how her position to engage Black America is going to start next month. So at least we knew, see, this is how we know. At least we knew something wasn't happening, and now it is happening. So congratulations again, Lynn Patton, Special Assistant to the President. We look forward to changing Black America. We look forward to making the most money Black America has made. President Trump got 15% of the vote. I take very much pride in that number. When we started out, it was less than 5% that a Republican president ever got. And now it's over 15% that a Republican president got. But we've got to hold his feet to the fire, and we've got to make sure that that means something. That 15% of us that made that choice are now made the right choice for the rest of us. Okay, because we all can't be Democrats. We all have to be, a little bit of everything. But let's get to that. Okay, so we look forward to working with you, Lynn, here at the New American Perspective. We look forward to having you on the show at some point, telling us what you need our audience, our congregation to do. Okay, so let me see. you, like I said, the European Union. We've got some guests coming on. We're going to go into the G check in a minute. Okay, before we go to the break, let me give you the bad news. Congestion pricing in New York City is here to stay. So if you don't know, if you're around the world, when you come into the Manhattan area from 2nd Street in Manhattan all the way up to 60th Street in Manhattan, you have to pay a congestion pricing of $15. Now they say it's $9. It's $15 if you don't have Easy Pass. And so every time you go into that area, you have to pay an additional $15. And I'm not with it. I don't like it. I've always said that I don't like it. It doesn't help us at all, because look, if you go to another bridge, if you're broke and you can't pay the money, you go to another bridge, you're out there for an additional hour and a half, and it just does not make sense. Okay, so Duffy, I'm talking to you now, Duffy. Get this right, please. And so they said they're going to keep the congestion price going on. So people, we have to speak up about this. Where they're going to keep the congestion pricing going on at least until the summer, maybe till the fall. That's when we may get some information. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with the New American Perspective here on Millennium News 24. I'm having a great time with you. I hope you are having a great time with me.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
Hey, there he goes. Super G check. We can't see you. Can you come a little bit? Can you enter the camera room? Oh, now you on the all violator team today. This is a G check. That's a G check. There go my guy, A.B. Butler, in the house with the Super G check. How are you today, cousin?
You know me, cuz just resting, trying to get myself back up to par, not rushing, taking my
Good.
time. I got the boss lady in the house, you know what I mean? So
Yes, mommy. How you
yeah,
doing?
yeah.
So we've been monitoring. If you haven't been tuned in, we've been monitoring AB. He had just got brain surgery, 3 weeks ago now? Is it 3 weeks?
Now it's been like it was March the 6th, so it's like 30 days. It's like a month.
Congratulations. So he's still here, very much in tune with us. And so
Yeah.
we've been monitoring him. We've been checking in with him every week. And this is a G check. And so he is doing well. Let's look. He's doing well, looking good, pigmentation good, everything good. And he got a little age on him too. I ain't gonna tell his age, but he got a little age on him. But he looked like a young boy, ladies. He looked like a young boy. Okay. So
Congratulations.
yeah. So let's talk about it. This week there's been a lot going on. Have you been tuning in to what's going on across the board?
Yeah, I've been tuned on a congestion price, man. You was just talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say something about that.
Please give me a G check there.
This is definitely a big G check.
Mm-hmm. Now you live
You
close to the George Washington Bridge, so you
no
see
no
a
no no
lot of
no
this.
no 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 no. We don't get where we close to what. It ain't got
No,
nothing to do with that.
not like that.
I want to do the G check on it because New York State, New York City is the most greediest people in the world. They want to keep rising, 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 keep running the tolls up, the train up, the bus, the new extortion, extortion of the poor people, the people that is you keep rising, but you're not giving where we can make it even.
True,
You
true, G.
understand? They not giving to make it even where if you want to keep raising, at least give the money where we could pay for it. You know what I mean? Y'all don't ask the people that got it, don't have it, whatever, whatever. But at the end of the day, even with the lottery, they shot it up to $5. What is they doing with all this money?
What do you mean the lottery shot it up to
They
$5?
shot the lottery up to $5.
A
You
one
remember
dollar
it was $1. Then they changed the mega and the power to $2. Now it's $5 for one ticket. So I'm trying to figure out. I understand when you lottery around the world, but what is they doing with this money when the lottery go up to $1 billion? What is they doing with this extra money they taxing you? So it's like you keep raising the tolls up, man. Come on, get that door. You keep raising the tolls up, but at the end of the day, where is the money? You're not fixing the black community. You're not fixing the black community.
Mm-hmm.
You're not fixing the train station like 241st,
Right,
Gun
right.
Hill, and Bronxwood. You go to the hood, the trains is toe up. So what is y'all really doing with all that paper?
Now this is a G check, a government check, and so we've got to ask Governor Hochul. This is a G check, Governor Hochul. What are you doing with the money? Now they're saying they're doing all these pretty things with this congestion pricing money. They're doing this and that. They're doing, all these improvements. They're doing the Second Avenue subway that they say with this money. But I am right with you where America has to stop eating its people. It has to stop eating its people up and give its people a chance, especially here in New York. Because in New York, that's when, and again, what I'm saying about the George Washington is that you're telling everybody that we gotta pay to go into Manhattan. But if
Mhm.
you gotta go a different way, everything else is jammed up. So if you go the Verrazano Bridge, shout out to Congresswoman Nicole Malatakis over there. You go the Verrazano Bridge, then at the Verrazano Bridge, it's jammed up for an hour and a half. You try to go through Brooklyn to get to Manhattan. So they're making you pay for it because if your if your time is constrained altogether, then you can't focus on what's going on. Okay. You can't focus on what is happening if what is happening is not allowing you to move around the city. So while some people in New York are feeling good and feeling, great about what's happening and moving around between Second Avenue, Second Street, and 60th Street, while some people feel great about that,
Mhm.
other people are saying, this is hurting me. So I've got to go George Washington or I've got to go Verrazano Bridge. But if you go Lincoln Tunnel, if you go Holland Tunnel to get in New York, you have to pay that price and an additional price as soon as you get into the city. And it's not making any sense. But the governor said, governor's got to win on this one because we will not be seeing congestion pricing will still be going on at least until the midsummer or the fall. So
So
more people got to talk about this.
let me ask you a question, right? The problem is I'm having you saying it's congestion pricing, right? So at the end of the day, y'all keep taking the streets, making them smaller. So that's not our fault. Y'all wanted to do this to make the city look
And to
Disney
make it
World.
longer. Mm-hmm.
So right now, so you take the streets and make it smaller, and it's only certain ways the cars can come up, go down. But you want us to pay for to make the city look good and store us the same exact way. They
It's an
extort
extortion.
us, and then they take and they extort us. This is like they say, pimping ain't easy.
But it sure is fun. That's what they saying in New York. So that's a G check, and we're going to keep that on our list of things that we've got to keep up. Now, let me ask you about this. So, Apple, let me tell you about what Apple just did. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the tariffs just went on in New York City. So, what
Uh-huh.
Apple did out of India, Apple sent 5 planes from India
Uh-huh.
with all iPhones and everything like that before the tariffs took place, so they wouldn't have to um pay the prices. So they got enough iPhones over here to last for a long enough time to where now what we're going to do with these iPhones. So at least the iPhones are going to not going to go up. So that's a G check because they decided that they were not going to pay the prices right now. They're going to figure out this tariff thing, and maybe Trump will take off the tariffs of India because maybe India is talking that they want to negotiate tariffs. So they're talking that maybe. But Apple got smart. They sent 5 planes worth of iPhones over here. What say you?
Well, listen, somebody got to beat the system, you know what I mean? Because the system definitely they raping us, you know what I mean? So it's like somebody got to beat the system.
That's what they did. And then so they got smart and they went for the kill and they brought everything in. And so, you know, on another note, there was a nightclub in the Dominican Republic that lost 100 people. There was a roof in the Dominican Republic that collapsed on 100 people. Rest in peace to those people, and sorry to the families out there. You know, in the Dominican Republic, the infrastructures are, here, there, and everywhere. And so they're going to have to get their situation together over there. There was a New York Yankee that was in that club as well, a retired New York Yankee, Dominican citizen that was in that club as well. So rest in peace to those folks over there. On another note, the Dragon Fest is happening in Chinatown. Now, have you ever been down to Chinatown
Of
and
course
had
I have.
food down in Chinatown? So, Dragon Fest is coming back to New York City this week, and they will be having a feast downtown up until November, though. So we'll be able to get out there and go check out the eats. But they're
Let me
having
let me ask you a question. Is they
sure.
congested pricing the dragons?
Yeah, because people got to pay that. The people got to pay that money. I mean, they're spreading it out a little bit, so you don't have to go 10 days one at a time. It starts on April 13th, and then April 20th, and then it goes on to another day. But Astor Place is the next up. So let's also G check. And so here goes a G check. Congratulations to the Florida University Gators on winning the NCAA Division I basketball tournament the
Don't
other
forget
night.
the
So they beat
Yukons. Don't forget
Houston
Connecticut.
University, right? UConn had been out of it, right? They beat
I'm
Houston
talking about the females. They
University.
won it.
Oh, the females, yes. Shout
Cause you
out
know
to
you a
the
basketball
females.
star. You know what I mean? You supposed to let them
Yes,
know.
no, absolutely. Shout out to the females. I'm happy. That's a G check because I'm happy where the females are going at this point. I'm happy where they are leading, where everything is leading and pointing to with women's basketball. Soon you will be able to see the WNBA basketball championship coming forward. So Duke fans, though, here goes another G check. The Duke fans are upset and they called for
Boycott.
yep, they called for of Steven Smith, the one that works with Charles Barkley. Because he's over there calling everything wrong, telling them that, that their number one recruit is going to be in the lottery, and so they're G checking him because they're saying, listen, get this guy out of here, okay? He doesn't know what is going on. He's not paying attention. So they G checking him and getting him up out of there. Okay, here's a great one. G check or no G check. LeBron James becomes the first man to be LeBron James becomes the first man to become a Barbie.
A Barbie.
A Barbie. LeBron James is
What is
now
that?
a Barbie. You can get him for LeBron James. You can now get him for $75 in the form of a Barbie.
You might as well say
He's the
Kent,
first
not a Bobby. He's Kent.
huh?
He's Kent, not Bobby.
Ken. He's Ken.
Okay.
He's
You said Bobby.
LeBron James. A
Okay.
Barbie doll.
Mm.
That they don't have he's a Ken doll, but he's under the Mattel's Barbie dolls. He's now
Okay.
debuts the Barbie, LeBron James, as a Barbie, as his Ken doll, and he's the first athlete to become a Barbie doll. And so what do you think about that?
Hey, it is what it is.
So LeBron, he may be undisputably the best guy, and so we got to take a break. I missed our break time, but we got to take a break right quick. We'll
Yeah,
be
do
right
that because I got the doctor just walked in here to tighten the belt up.
okay.
Huh?
Okay, so we'll check you in a little while. So you just click off your piece, and then we'll check you in a minute. Tell your doctor we said what's up. So we'll be right back here on
Oh man.
the G Check and the New American Perspective. You have to mute yourself.
Finish the adjustment.
You have to mute yourself.
Only to use on during the day.
Let me cut this off.
So we'll be right back here on the G Check.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
And we are back. We are back. We are back. So this is Jania Butler with your New American Perspective. You heard A.B. Butler. They're going to see the doctor. Thank God for that. And we are back here on the G Check. And so let's talk about where we're going from here, right? We all have to look at, monitor our health, monitor everything that's going on with us. And we have to look at America through a new lens. And here on Millennium News 24, I think that they give us an opportunity to do just that. So let me ask you. So how's your health insurance? Do you have health insurance? You can go to newamericanlife.hip-hop to check on all of the group rates that we have for members of our congregation here on the New American Perspective. That's newamericanlife.hip-hop. Go on to that and log on and see if we can help you out with health insurance, life insurance, whatever your insurance needs. We can definitely help you there. Also log on to Yellow Brick financial.com, and they can leverage your money going forward with life insurance and things of that nature, because we need this going forward. When we're talking about recessions and we're talking about all this kind of stuff, again, I think that our community and our congregation really needs to think about whether or not we need to get together and invest in different stocks that are going to go up, cryptocurrency. Where are you at on crypto? Where are you on these different things going forward? Ah, you are back. So we
Yeah.
are back here on the G Check. So I'm talking about the people getting their perspectives together, their life insurance, their crypto, and talking about our congregation really, tuning in and making sure that our money is good in this Trump administration, because President Trump is going to allow us to make money, and that's what we need to do here in America. We need to look forward in the communities to make money. Now, let me ask you something. We had sent our messages out to President Trump. We G-checked him, and we got the pardon czar. And now President Trump, I've been yelling and screaming about whether or not he should be where he should be when it comes to Black America. And so now he's bringing jobs back across the United States, right? So how do you feel about these tariffs and the fact that he's trying to bring skilled workmanship back into the United States and those type of jobs? Representative Jasmine Crockett talked about how, people don't want to pick the cotton. People don't want to be in the field. People don't want the jobs that the immigrants are here to do. How do you feel about the immigrants in America?
Well, listen, you gotta remember this. We all as immigrants, if you look at the scale, What I'm saying is somebody want to come and do the work, let them do the work, because most of the time you got people that look like us, they don't want to do it. They lazy. They want a handout. The ones that want to work, they don't want to get it. They don't want to give us the right jobs. You know what I mean? They want to give us the pennies. We built this country, so we should be able to eat like everybody else eat and support their family, like they support their family. So I feel that even with the guys have been locked up, what I mean, and I say that hard because we filed for these jobs for like Amtrak, whatever, empty the train stations or whatever, and it's just like housing. They choose and they pick who they want to put in office up, give them that job. They got to correct that problem. You know what I mean? It got to be to a point where fair is fair, because these days is nothing fair. They always say, the black man's lazy, but the man want to work and get the pensions, get to support his family, take care of his kids. But they want to keep us going back and forth to the system. And a lot of dudes don't want to be in the system. They want to work out the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But most people, I had a conversation with somebody
Mhm.
last week, and they said, well, if they want me to work in the field, then they got to pay me the money that I need to make to take care of my family. But is it that the job is supposed to pay you, or is it that you are supposed to get the job that is going to take care of your family? And sometimes you have to start from somewhere. My first job, I worked at Burger King, but I was
You could
14,
tell we cousins.
15
I
years
worked at Burger King.
old.
I worked at Burger King for a day and I couldn't do it.
I worked there for 2 weeks, but that was an entry level position,
Yeah.
right? And so that was my first job. And so when we look at the entry level positions, and they're talking about, working in the fields out in the, picking strawberries and picking all these other things, jobs that have to get done in America. You need to come a little further closer to the camera.
I'm
But
coming.
jobs that need to get done in America regardless. And so now Trump is shipping out all these immigrants. He's rounding up all these immigrants. So now they're saying, who's going to do these jobs? I mean, I don't think that we should be the ones that they should be looking at. But if we have a low unemployment rate and the minimum wage is $15 to $18 in certain places around the country, and if these are jobs that can get us started for the next level, are we willing to work these jobs?
Well, at the end of the day, people listen. You got dudes that work in the penitentiary for pennies, for pennies. Long as you can eat and support your family, should be no problem. But it's like you can't just feel that okay, we gonna put him in the field, we gonna give him pennies because he been in a situation, he been locked up, he been incarcerated. We could give him nothing. No, you got to change that because at the end of the day, you giving nobody nothing, but the bills do not stop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When do the bills stop? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the bills keep going up while you paying us is going down. So it's got to be even where, you know what I mean? A man don't matter. It might be a field job, but if they paying the right money, it's no problem. It's just like
But
the
what is the
industry.
right money for that? Like,
It's just
you
like the
it's
industry,
like, and
cuz.
I love the fact that you said in jail that guys are working for pennies. So that shows that we will do the job, right?
Yeah.
If you're working for pennies. But we're not asking people to work for pennies, but will you work your way up? They're saying that we don't want the jobs, we're not going to take the jobs, give them to the immigrants because of that. But look at it. Look at New York construction. What is your take on New York's construction jobs here in the city?
Yeah, well, in the city, you see, and I ain't got nothing against them. You see number of Mexicans, you see some blacks, you see this and that. But at the end of the day, it goes from relationships. Who
Mm-hmm,
do I want to put in that position?
mm-hmm,
And it's just like it's the same thing with the industry. It's no different. It's like I say, being locked up is no different than being on the streets. Because at the end of the day, being locked up is the same people that you're dealing with on the street coming in the penitentiary. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. It's the greedy. Who's every you know what I mean? It don't matter what culture is like, yo, it's the greed. We got to work the greed out.
mm-hmm.
We got to make sure a person could take care, every month, every year, the rent go up. Every year the toll go up. Every year this go up. But guess what? The pay don't go up.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it don't add up. So that's why if you look at the streets of New York, you look at the streets of LA, you look at the streets of Houston, you look at the streets everywhere. Why people homeless? Because the greediness. People was greedy. So it don't add up. So guess what? They lose. Then what? They ain't
Mm-hmm.
got no friends. They ain't got no family. Then what they gotta do? Go straight to the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then when they go straight to the street, they go to jail. That's
Right.
why so much mental illness. You know what I mean? We sit back and say how we can fix mental illness. Put somebody somewhere where they can live.
Mm-hmm.
Put somebody in somewhere where they can eat, support their family. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? The stress kills, but at the end of the day, stress is how can I, as a grown man, take care of my kid? I'm a grown man. How can I take care of my mother? How can I take care of my brother? How
Right.
can I, you know what I mean? That's where all the mental illness come from because people stressed out because they can't pay bills and they
Right.
keep raising. And then they get on TV and tell you what they're going to do when they get in office and then do the remix.
Right.
Been around the world. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You know, we got to hold these people accountable
Right.
because they sit in there and spin you and tell you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But as soon as they get in there, they got their position, their amnesia kick in.
Right, because we don't hold the people their feet to the fire. So
Yeah,
again, I want to thank President Trump for listening, for tuning in to the New American Perspective and taking our advice here on this channel, because what we've been able to do so far, we got a pardon czar. Now we got some black executive orders coming down the pipe. And now we need you, President Trump, to stay on top of this congestion pricing, because it is hurting people.
yeah,
While
it is.
people are moving around in Manhattan nicely, everybody else at the other tunnels and the bridges and everywhere else are suffering, and it's just not fair. And so we're going to support you, President Trump, on these tariffs, and don't let them tell you that our community does not want jobs, our community won't work certain stuff. We want to be a part of the American boom here in America as well. And so we're going to sign out for today. This is Jania Butler. That's AB Butler. And this is a G Check. And we'll see you next week on the New American Perspective. Thank you so
Boom.
much.